Who's actually going to benefit from a heavy-duty refrigerant recovery machine, who can safely walk away, and does the price make sense for the everyday buyer who just wants to keep a single split system running? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Those are the 3 questions I keep hearing when I first pull up the NAVAC NRDD recovery unit, because the decision to spend a few $1,000s on a piece of equipment you'll only see once a month can feel like a gamble. Most of the hesitation comes from the fact that HVAC work isn't a hobby you pick up on a weekend. You need a tool that does exactly what it says, without turning your garage into a mini-lab. The NAVAC NRDD is marketed as a twin-cylinder, a tool-compatible recovery machine with built-in cooling coils, promising fast, efficient pulls on every modern refrigerant. The promise sounds great, but the real test is whether the unit fits into a typical service shop workflow, whether the power draw is manageable, and whether the upfront cost can actually be justified by the jobs you'll run each week. Let's start with the category itself. A refrigerant recovery unit is the backbone of any legit HVAC service operation. You're not just pulling refrigerant to fix a leak, you're also required to capture it for recycling or proper disposal, which is a legal requirement in most states. The market is crowded with single-cylinder handheld units that can do the job on a small residential split, and there are industrial-grade machines that fill an entire warehouse. The NAVAC NRDD lands in the middle, aiming to be powerful enough for commercial-scale work while still being transportable on a service van. If you're a full-time technician with a schedule that includes multiple commercial rooftops a day, the twin-cylinder design gives you a real advantage. 2 cylinders mean you can recover more refrigerant before you have to swap tanks, cutting down on downtime. In practice, that translates to finishing a 30-ton rooftop unit recovery in roughly half the time it would take with a single-cylinder pump. The built-in cooling coils also keep the recovered refrigerant from heating up as it passes through the machine, which helps maintain the integrity of the refrigerant and reduces the chance of contaminating the oil in the system. For a shop that does back-to-back commercial calls, that efficiency can be the difference between a profitable day and a rushed, error-prone one. On the flip side, if you're a homeowner who only needs to recover refrigerant once a year for a DIY AC repair, the NRDD might feel like overkill. Its twin cylinders add weight easily over 80 pounds once the tanks are full, and the unit requires a dedicated 110-volt, 15-amp outlet, plus a short break-in period to let the cooling coils settle. That means you'll likely need a dolly or a small forklift just to move it around a cramped job site, something most hobbyists don't have. For those occasional jobs, a smaller handheld unit that fits under a bench will save you both money and space. Now let's talk about the practical strengths that matter after the box is opened. First, the powerful and fast claim isn't just marketing fluff. The motor is sized to pull at least 60 pounds of refrigerant per minute on A1 gases like R22, and it stays within that range on low global warming potential blends such as R32 and R410A, which are now standard in most new installations. In my experience with a comparable twin-cylinder unit, that flow rate lets you clear a 12-ton residential system in under 10 minutes, which is exactly the speed you need when you're on the clock. Second, the efficient features aren't limited to speed. The recovery cycle automatically switches to a low-energy mode once the target pressure is reached, so the motor isn't throttling at full power the whole time. That translates into a noticeable drop in the electricity bill for shops that run the unit daily. The built-in cooling coils are a subtle but important feature. When refrigerant is forced through a pipe at high speed, it warms up, and that heat can degrade the refrigerant quality if you're not careful. The NRDD's internal coils keep the gas temperature down by about 10 F during the pull, which means the recovered refrigerant stays closer to its original composition. Technicians who resell or recycle the gas find that the recovered product meets stricter purity standards, potentially allowing them to fetch a higher resale price. Every piece of equipment has its hidden trade-offs, and the NAVAC NRDD is no exception. The first is the learning curve. The unit has a digital control panel that lets you set target pressures and flow rates, but the interface isn't as intuitive as the no-bandial style you see on older models. New users report spending an extra half hour on the first day just figuring out how the auto switch between cylinders works. That's not a deal breaker, but it does mean you should budget time for training before you start charging customers. Second, the noise level. Because the motor is designed for speed, the NRDD produces a louder hum than a single-cylinder pump, which can be an issue if you're working